The 2026 offseason is here for the New Orleans Saints, and it is official. New Orleans will be selecting number 8 overall in the 2026 NFL Draft. They have locked in the 8th overall selection. So for today's show, I'm going to go through my top draft targets for the New Orleans Saints in round 1 of the 2026 NFL Draft. Obviously, they have a handful of needs. We're going to give you a little bit of a preview here on Saints Now by Chat Sports on Monday morning. And I want to encourage you to stay locked in and stay informed. We're going to have draft coverage all offseason leading up to the big day. And then when the draft is here, we will be live for every single pick. So make sure you subscribe, turn on your notifications, and let's talk some NFL draft. Now, in the draft preview, I want to talk about this team because I think it's interesting how you can attack the draft and how you attack free agency, because the roster construction, in my personal opinion, needs to be focused on building around Tyler Shough. I think defensively you need to add a couple of pieces, but I think offensively that's where you should mainly focus. And before any of the comp picks have been rewarded, the Saints have 8 total selections. They hold the 8th overall pick. And as for the draft order, in terms of player or teams that are going to pick ahead of you and players that could be off the board, you can see it as follows. The top 10 pretty much locked in. Raiders, Jets, Cardinals, Titans. The Giants blew it, and they won against the Cowboys, so that put them at 5th overall. The Browns, the Commanders, the Saints are at 8. At 9, you see the Chiefs, and at 10, the Cincinnati Bengals. Pretty crazy to say that the Chiefs and the Saints are picking back-to-back. But the New Orleans Saints, like I said, they got to focus on giving Tyler Shough every reason to succeed. Add offensive weapons. Add offensive linemen. Bring in more depth. Bring in more talent. The team needs to focus on building around Tyler Shough and giving him the best opportunity to win and to succeed, because we've seen him elevate a roster that has been lacking depth in weapons. Let's put some more around him and see what this guy can really, really do. Now, who do you want the Saints to draft in round 1? Share your thoughts. Get in the comment section. Who are your top draft targets? I'm going to go through mine right now. Now, in terms of players who are off the board, likely at number 8, 2 guys I am interested in. Arvell Reese, that's my number 1 draft prospect in this class. He's my guy that I want to go draft no matter what, but I just don't see a world where he's going to be available at 8. Reuben Bain Jr., I like him. I don't love him, but I am starting to get back on the Reuben Bain hype train. He's been putting up some really, really impressive production when the Miami Hurricanes needed him the most. And I will say, again, I likely think that they're going to be off of the board here, but if they aren't, I'm not kidding. You need to sprint to the draft stage to submit your card, so that way you can take one of these 2 players. Now, offensive draft targets. I really, really like the options of Carnell Tate, Jordyn Tyson, Jeremiyah Love. If you want to go with a weapon, I think these are the 3 best options that you can get in the draft when it comes to adding offensive talent. But if you want to go O-lineman, Spencer Fano, the offensive lineman out of Utah, I know he's a tackle, but I think that he has the versatility to also be able to play at the guard position. Now let's talk about the wide receivers first, and then we'll get to the running back and the offensive lineman. With Carnell Tate, he is the bigger wide receiver. He has better production. I like him a lot more, and quite frankly, I would love to see the Ohio State pipeline continue to New Orleans. But Jordyn Tyson is a player that I am interested in as well. I think that he is a very productive guy from Allen, Texas. He has been a strong football player through and through, and he's somebody that I do think could help open up the Saints offense. And to be totally honest, I think both of these players could be complementary to wide receiver Chris Olave. But if you don't want to go wide receiver, there is an option to potentially go another route, and maybe you get a running back. Maybe you get an offensive lineman. And again, you can address some of these needs in free agency ahead of time, but I think no matter what, you have to leave the draft and prioritize in the draft a wide receiver. And I do think Jeremiyah Love is a player that I would be absolutely stoked to draft. He has 18 rushing touchdowns, 3 in the air, a grand total of 21 total scores for the Fighting Irish. The dude is ultra productive. He is a guy that could help open up the Saints offense. He could be a security blanket for Tyler Shough. He could help open up the run game, which has been extremely lackluster over the past couple of years, to be totally honest. And for what it's worth, I do think with the Saints, they have some juice in the running back department, but I think that you need to plan for life after Alvin Kamara. I don't think he's the same guy he used to be. Kendre Miller has not proven to be reliable enough to stay on the field and stay healthy. Devin Neal, really like him. 6th-round pick, rookie. Still need to learn a little bit more before I crown him my RB1. But I think Jeremiyah Love could walk in today and be the RB1 for the New Orleans Saints. And again, I would love to just personally draft an offensive weapon. I've said this so many times on the show. I think it would be fun just to draft somebody who I could go and buy their jersey on draft night. That's just what I want to do. We've taken so many offensive linemen. We've taken so many players that are just not the sexy, juicy, fun picks. And I get it. It's important to take those players. And it is a very big need to take those guys when they're very high level and you're in the position to take some of them. Kelvin Banks and Talise Fuaga, those I believe are your franchise tackles, so I understand it, but really would like to see more of those get hit. So if you're going to go offensive lineman, Spencer Fano I think is an excellent option. He has the versatility to play on the outside. I think that he's somebody that you could plug in on the inside, and he's somebody that while you're developing and while he grows, you could get a really, really nice player that can get even more versatile, even more dominant on the offensive line. 0 sacks allowed for Utah this past season, 822 snaps. He's really effective as a run blocker, really effective as a pass blocker. I think when it comes to the New Orleans Saints, adding an offensive lineman isn't a bad idea, but it's something that I would prefer to go with the weapon. That's just me. I understand why other people want to go another route. I'm just giving you my opinion. Now, coming up, we're going to talk defensive side of the football because the Saints do have needs on defense, and there are some players that the Saints could draft that can make an immediate impact on that side of the football and take an already solid unit and make them an elite squad. And before we get to the defensive side of the football in terms of draft targets that I could see the Saints potentially being interested in, we're going to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy app in not just North America, but the whole wide world. I love Prize Picks. You'll love Prize Picks. And guys, we're trying to make some new decisions. We're trying to make better decisions this year. New Year's resolution. I'm trying to be smarter, and I'm trying to make better decisions, but on Prize Picks, I can cash in on those good decisions, and you can too. We got a sweet feature for you. If you download the Prize Picks app, use our promo code CLNS, you'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And you got to check out the early payouts. If your players on your Prize Picks lineup get off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. And on Prize Picks, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose Flex Play, where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, go for the Power Play. No matter how you like to play, Prize Picks is a great way to put your ball knowledge to the test and try to cash in every single game day. Now, in terms of some playoff Prize Picks, I'm going to go against the Carolina Panthers here. I just don't believe in that team whatsoever. Matthew Stafford, I think he's going to get more on his passing yards. Puka Nacua, I think he's going to help him find the end zone at least once, so I'm going to take the more on those. And then I like Drake May, so I'm going to take the more on his passing yards against the Chargers for their matchup. And if you want to fade the picks, if you want to tail the picks, don't care what you do. Just make sure you do it with Prize Picks. So download the app today. Use our promo code CLNS. You'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. All that information is available in the comments and description of this video. Shout out to Prize Picks, where it's always good to be right. Click the link down below to get started today. Now, when it comes to the defensive side of the football, I think that you could see defensive players and the defense as a whole become a really, really big priority based on what happens to multiple starters. And honestly, I'll say what happens in free agency as a whole. I'll talk about free agency first because depending on who you sign or who you let walk, that's going to impact what you need on your roster, obviously. And then you also have decisions to make on whether or not you're going to bring back Cam Jordan or whether or not he wants to retire. Demario Davis, does he want to retire? Does he want to come back? It sounded like he wants to, but you got to make sure that's the case. Taysom Hill seems like he's probably going to retire. What's going on with Alvin Kamara? Like there's decisions to make across multiple starters and multiple veterans and honestly a lot of players like Alontae Taylor as well. Do you make any trades? Do you make any splashy moves early on once everything opens up? Like, you have to get to the answers of those questions first, but I do think when it comes to the defensive side of the football, 4 guys come to mind. I would love Caleb Downs. I think that he is a player at 8 overall. You could justify the safety pick. I think he's somebody who could immediately turn the Saints defense into an elite squad. I really like David Bailey, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech. He is a freak, ultra productive for the Red Raiders. Damon Wilson, edge rusher out of MIZZOU, and Mansoor Delane, the cornerback out of LSU. I think if either one of these guys are your pick, I'm really not even going to complain about it. And obviously, you do have the ability to trade back if there is teams interested in the 8th overall pick. So maybe you do consider that and you can get one of these guys a little bit better value. But when it comes to drafting a defensive player, Caleb Downs, if you're not going to get Arvell Reese or Ruben Bain, I feel like he's a pretty damn good consolation prize at 8 overall. Ultra productive, ultra high football IQ, really, really nice instincts. The dude is just a guy who can walk in today and be an impact player. And honestly, I would love to see Caleb Downs utilized in Brandon Staley's scheme and in his defense. And whether or not you let Alontae Taylor walk, I think that impacts what his role would be. But to be totally honest, I think Caleb Downs could be an excellent addition and an excellent upgrade to the defensive back room, the safety room especially. I don't think there's anything wrong with having too many DBs. I don't think that's a real thing. So when it comes to Caleb Downs, I'm all in on drafting the Ohio State safety. David Bailey, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech. Man, is this guy talented. 52 tackles, 14 and a half sacks, 3 forced fumbles in 2025. He's a big reason why the Red Raiders were so productive on the defensive side of the football and why their defense was so good throughout the entire college football year. I really, really like this player. Mel Kiper does too. Here's what he had to say about David Bailey just a couple of days ago. A transfer from Stanford, Bailey gets after the quarterback. He had 14 and a half sacks over 3 seasons for the Cardinals, and he has notably become more of a finisher this season. His 19.9 pressure rate is the best in the nation, and he is up to 13 and a half sacks in 13 games with the Red Raiders, unlocking another level of his game. I think David Bailey is a player that the New Orleans Saints could easily plug in and have be ultra reliable. Cam Jordan, does he come back? I think he does. I don't see a problem with that whatsoever. But why not have another guy that's training, getting ready, and you have him, you have Demario Davis, you have Chase Young, you have Carl Grant. You have a lot of guys to pour into him and help him just get even better. Like, make that pass rush elite. Make that defensive line elite. If you're going to have too many guys who can get after the quarterback, I think it's a really good problem to have personally. Damon Wilson, the edge rusher out of MIZZOU. I'm going to be totally honest, a guy that I have not necessarily paid a ton of attention to, somebody I haven't really heard much about, but I kind of did some research last night, was looking around at some of the edge rushers, who were some of the top guys, and a name that I kind of was unfamiliar with was Damon Wilson out of MIZZOU, and I was actually pretty impressed with what I saw. I mean, 9 sacks, 23 tackles. He's somebody who I think could be a really good replacement, just like David Bailey, for the long term of the edge rusher room. And I think that he could be a good running mate for Chase Young. So either one of those players between David Bailey or Damon Wilson, if you want to go an edge rusher, I think those are both really, really good options. And, of course, you have a lot of other edge rushers too. But, I think when it comes down to the edge rusher position, you get the best guy that's on the board or you get the most productive, and I don't think that there's a problem with that. Now, Mansoor Delane, a name that a lot of you guys are going to really, really like. I know Lopez is a big fan of this player. 45 tackles, 2 interceptions, 11 pass breakups. Look, it's the old thing. You can never have too many defensive backs. I will never shy away from believing that. It's the same thing with receivers. It's the same thing with DBs. You can never have too much depth. You can never have too many players. And if you do make decisions in the cornerback room with some of your veteran guys or some of the guys who've been around for a little bit, then obviously it opens up opportunities and opens up windows and it pushes back timelines and paying players. So if you do make decisions on Alontae Taylor, you make decisions on some of the other corners, then you do give yourself the ability to add in a player like Mansoor Delane, and he could walk in today and be very, very impactful. When it comes to the defensive back room as a whole, Caleb Downs, obviously more of a safety, Mansoor Delane more of a corner, but I think either one of those players could be really, really nice in this defense that Brandon Staley has going on. The DB room, when you talk about the starters of Kool-Aid McKinstry, right now Alontae Taylor, Quincy Riley, Justin Reed, Jonas Sanker, that's a really nice crew. But you also need to understand that there will be life after Justin Reed. There will be life after some of these safeties. There will be guys that you just let walk in free agency or you cut or you trade away. I have no problem with getting too many DBs or too many edge rushers or too many wide receivers. When it comes to the Saints, give me some fun players. Get me some guys that I can get excited about. I want to buy some jerseys. I want to get really pumped up because it feels like the past few drafts have not really been that exciting. This past draft class was exciting. Let's keep the momentum, and let's have another great class. And if you're excited for the 2026 NFL Draft, smash the thumbs up icon and like this video. My name is Trizzy Trace Gerard. You can find me on social media at Trizzy Trace. or not at Trizzy Trace, at Trace Gerard 48, but just search up Trizzy Trace on X, Instagram, or TikTok, or you can click the links down below and give me a follow. Appreciate you for tuning in. We're going to be live later on today. Y'all stay golden. We'll see you next time.